Estate planning for a loved one can be a daunting task and might be even just a little bit confusing as well. The good news is there are options for those of us who are looking to do an estate plan for a loved one or for ourselves. Here to tell us a little bit more is Roy Fine from Murphy Desmond. Roy, it's so good to see you.
Thanks, Justin. Thanks for having me.
You know, as I mentioned, the thought of estate planning for many folks is overwhelming. There's a lot to think about. Can you help us break it down a little bit? Let's start with who should have an estate plan.
If you can answer yes to any one of these three questions, then you should probably have an estate plan. First, do you have assets? Your house, other real estate, bank accounts, investments, art, collectibles, that sort of thing. Do you have a preference as to who should receive those assets? Or do you have a preference about who handles your estate? Again, if you answered yes to any one of those three, you should probably have an estate plan.
That's good to know. A lot of times when people talk about estate planning, we hear the words trusts, wills, powers of attorney, etc. What components make up an actual estate plan?
Well, there are 5 documents that I think are the key components to every good estate plan: a will, a trust, a marital property agreement for married persons, a financial power of attorney document, and a healthcare power of attorney document.
Let's break down each of those items. I mean, we've talked about the marital property agreements here previously with folks from Murphy Desmond, but can we break down some of those other documents that you mentioned?
Absolutely. The will, that's the document that sets forth your wishes as far as getting your assets to your beneficiaries. It also names the personal representative or executor who handles your estate, and it can name a guardian for minor children. A trust is a document that we use to avoid probate. The marital property agreement for married persons, again, is a document that we use to classify assets as yours, mine, and ours. And it's different in the estate planning context than it is in divorce. But it's particularly important for families with children from a prior relationship, because without a marital property agreement, the handling of the estate gets confusing and can lead to disputes. The fourth, the financial power of attorney, is a document that you can use to designate the person who handles your bill payment and finances if you are incapacitated and can't do that for yourself. And the healthcare power of attorney fulfills that same function in the health arena. You name someone who can talk to the doctors when you can't do it yourself. Some of these apply during life and some are after you pass, but they're all part of a good estate plan.
And it should be noted, and I just learned this recently, that powers of attorney only apply while the person is living. Once the person is deceased, those powers of attorney go away. Is that correct?
You're exactly right. A financial power of attorney ends.
It's a whole lot to think about. What happens if someone does not have a will or an estate plan when they pass?
Well, then the laws of intestacy kick in. Those are state statutes, and they create an estate plan for you if you don't have one. It's sort of a one-size-fits-all, one-size-fits-no-one. And that's why we encourage people to make their own so they can make their own choices.
Very important. We often hear people talking about probate in estate planning, that it is something to avoid if possible. What can a person do to avoid probate?
Well, first, I would agree that many people think that it's to be avoided, especially if they've been through the probate process with a relative's estate. But we can avoid it using trusts, and we have some other strategies: joint tenancies and accounts that name beneficiaries and deeds that pass property directly without court supervision. In addition to having an estate plan, we encourage people to update their estate plan as well. family situations change, assets change, the government changes the tax laws. Many times those will make a change to an estate plan necessary, and we can make that change without a great deal of trouble by using an amendment so that we don't have to go through the whole thing again. And I'm happy to help people create or update an estate plan. I can talk to people on the phone or through email. It's usually a great relief for people to have their estate plan completed. It's sort of a burden that hangs over people's heads, and I'm glad to help to preserve people's legacies.
Absolutely. Roy Fine, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk to us about that. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And you can go to murphydesmond.com if you have any questions or if you would like to look into starting an estate plan for you or someone you love. We'll be right back after the break.